Assembled guests, please stand. Their Excellencies, the Right Honourable Dame Cindy Kero, Governor-General of New Zealand, and Dr. Richard Davis.
Ko te amorangi ki mua, ko te hāpai o ki muri. Kia tau i honga manaakitanga ki runga ki tēnā ki tēnei o tātou. He hōnore, he kroria, he maungarongo ki runga ki te mata o te whenua, he whakaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Aroha e na ngā teina, me ngā tuakana, e noho nei i rungi te whakaro kotahi, pai marire.
Please be seated. Nau mai haramai ki te whare o te whare kāwana tianara o te whare kei tāmaki makaurau. Distinguished guests, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to Government House for today's investiture ceremony. I'd like to specifically acknowledge Mr. Joe Haruwira, Kaumātua, and Dr. Hiria Hape, Kuia, and we have a reserve Kaumātua, never a reserve, but always on the bench, Bobby Newsom, our kaumātua hoki. Hosting investiture ceremonies is one of the most important duties that I perform on behalf of Her Majesty, the Queen of New Zealand. I'm delighted to bring together such an extraordinary group of New Zealanders. You have each brought pride and a greater sense of well-being to Aotearoa New Zealand through your outstanding achievements and your service to our communities. On behalf of all New Zealanders, I extend my sincerest thanks to you for all your contributions. After each recipient is honoured, I invite you to join with me in congratulating them. Mr. Ward Kamo will now summon the recipients and read their citations.
Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Dr. Alistair McCormick of Auckland for services to tertiary education and the community. Dr. Alistair McCormick is an emeritus professor at the University of Auckland, having been head of the Department of Management Studies and School of Business and Economics, Dean, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic and Council Member. He was involved with the New Zealand Committee for Pacific Economic Cooperation and APEC. He is a member of the New Zealand Government Innovation Board and the Callaghan Innovation Grants Committee. He is a Commissioner of the Tertiary Education Commission and represents the Commission on the Programme Board for the Reform of Vocational Education. As Chair of the Elizabeth Knox Home and Hospital, he has led redevelopment and extensions. He has chaired the Matarangi Ratepayers Association and Community Trust. Dr. McCormick has been a trustee of the Liggins Institute Trust and Winston Churchill Memorial Trust. Dr. Alistair McCormick, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of an officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Ms. Margaret Broodcorn of Haruru for services to health and Māori. Margaret Broodcorn has worked with Māori health and community providers to mentor nurses and support Māori nurses across New Zealand. She chaired Tāmaki Makaurau Nurse Leaders Rōpū and has worked with Māori health providers in Northland, Manukau Institute of Technology and Auckland University. She has been an executive member of the National Council of Māori Nurses and a member of the Health Workforce New Zealand Nursing Advisory Group. She has had extensive involvement with the Nursing Council of New Zealand. She sponsored Ngā Manukura Wā Pōpō, the National Māori Nursing and Midwifery Clinical Leadership Workforce Programme. She was the first Māori appointed as Chief Nursing Officer with the Ministry of Health. During the pandemic, Ms. Broodcorn established and led the Infection Prevention and Control Team for the COVID-19 response. Ms. Margaret Broodcorn, please come forward. Mr. Brian Mulligan of Auckland for services to physiotherapy. Brian Mulligan developed the Mulligan Concepts, a brand of physiotherapy techniques which have brought relief from pain and joint stiffness for many patients worldwide. His techniques are taught in universities in New Zealand and overseas. He established and ran a physiotherapy practice in Wellington for more than 40 years. He has lectured and taught nationally and internationally. In 1995, the Mulligan Concept Teachers Association was formed, with currently more than 50 accredited teachers across 21 countries. Now retired from presenting internationally, he has remained involved with fundraising and donating his time to present nationally as president of the association. He co-established the New Zealand Manipulative Therapists Association to provide education in the field of manual therapy and manipulation. Mr. Mulligan co-authored the Mulligan Concept of Manual Therapy. Mr. Brian Mulligan, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Dr. Ella Henry of Auckland for services to Māori, education and media. Dr. Ella Henry is Director of Māori Advancement at Auckland University of Technology's Business School. She was head of Pukenga School of Māori Education at Unitec. She has accumulated knowledge of Māori history, culture and society and contributed to better outcomes for Māori. She has been involved with the Māori screen industry as a writer, actor, presenter and commentator. She was chair of Ngā Aho Whakaari, the Association of Māori in Screen Production, which she helped establish. She chaired the Association of Women in Film and Television New Zealand. Dr. Henry was a treaty negotiator for her iwi Ngāti Kahu ki Whangaroa and was chair of the post-settlement governance entity. Dr. Ella Henry, please come forward. The Reverend Victoria Terrell of Auckland for services to the disability community. The Reverend Victoria Terrell is an ordained Anglican priest who set up networks to bring disabled people together to explore spirituality. She has held various roles with CCS Disability Action and helped develop the New Zealand Disability Strategy. She's been a TalkLink Charitable Trust Board member and New Zealand Relay Advisory Group member. She was a kaituitui for the Disabled Persons Assembly promoting the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Reverend Terrell is the Disability Community Chaplain for the Diocese of Auckland and the Disability Ministry Educator, Resource and Development Facilitator for the Anglican Church in Aotearoa, New Zealand and Polynesia. The Reverend Victoria Terrell, please come forward. Mrs. Emma Twigg of Cambridge for services to rowing. Emma Twigg has had a rowing career spanning 20 years and has represented New Zealand since 2003. She has competed in 4 Olympic Games and won gold in the women's single scull event at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. In 2014, she was crowned world champion and the same year named as World Rowing's Female Rower of the Year. Her career has included Olympic, senior, under-23 and junior world titles in the single scull. She is the first New Zealander to win the women's single scull at the Olympics Games and is one of New Zealand's most decorated female rowers. Mrs. Twigg is an active advocate for the LGBTQIA+ athletes. Mrs. Emma Twigg, please come forward. Mr. Patrick Walsh of Auckland for services to education. Well, Patrick Walsh is principal of John Paul College Rotorua and a Secondary Principals Association of the New Zealand Executive member. He has advised the Ministry of Education on several policy issues. He has used his legal training to benefit the community, providing pro bono work for the principals and helping to draft the bylaws for College Sport Auckland. He is New Zealand's representative on the Education Advisory Committee of the Australia Scholarship Group, responsible for reporting on the New Zealand education sector. Mr. Walsh was a member of the Disciplinary Tribunal of the New Zealand Teachers' Council and chaired the Working Party on Surrender and Retention Guidelines for Schools. Mr. Patrick Walsh, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the Queen's Service Medal, Dr. Asoka Dias of Auckland for services to health and the Sri Lankan community. Dr. Asoka Dias led fundraising for establishment of the Sri Lanka Buddhist Temple. He coordinates a monthly meditation program at the temple. He helped re-establish the New Zealand Overseas Doctors Association, which has seen more than 250 doctors engage in work in New Zealand. He is a member of the United Sri Lanka Association, helping members with their physical and mental well-being. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he led planning for the delivery of high-flow oxygen machines to Sri Lanka. Dr. Dias spearheaded a campaign to vaccinate as many people as possible in the Sri Lankan community. Dr. Asoka Dias, please come forward. Your Excellency, the investiture has concluded.
New Zealand's honours system is our highest public affirmation of outstanding individual achievement. It reinforces those things that make our society better: service, manaakitanga, and the pursuit of excellence. To our recipients, it has been a privilege to hear your stories. You have each used your talents and abilities to improve the lives of other New Zealanders. In doing so, you have illustrated the words of Nelson Mandela when he said, "We must use time creatively and forever realise that the time is always ripe to do right." I urge recipients to wear your insignia with pride at every opportunity, knowing that you inspire others by your example. On behalf of the Queen of New Zealand and all New Zealanders, I congratulate you once again for your achievements, and I thank you once again for your service to our country. Kia ora, e huhi mai tā e koutou I tēnei rā. You will see on the back of your program the words to the national anthem in Te Reo Māori and in English. I now invite you to stand with me and sing both.